Good morning, my YouTube viewers. Crystal here. I just decided that I wanted to make a video for you on a data set that I've been working on since yesterday. And I didn't make a lot of progress on it because it was such a poor quality data set. But since I spent so much time working on it, I decided I was going to make a video and a blog post anyway. And basically, the data set I got from the UK website. I can tell you what website I got it. Here's the web link for where I got the data set. If you want to look at the data set, it came as a CSV file and also an Excel spreadsheet. But obviously, I need to see the CSV files in order to carry out Python computations. So it was a very poor data set. I'm telling you that right now, but we'll go ahead and go through the analysis. So I couldn't do a whole lot because this is just rather than saying it's a solution, I'm going to call it an analysis because that's really what it is. It's an analysis. So this is to do with the UK parliamentary elections. I had hoped that I was going to be able to predict who the next ruling party was in the UK, but since the data set that the UK government puts out is such poor quality, it's going to be very difficult for me to do that with this data set. I'm going to need to find another data set, and I'll show you everything that I did to try to correct the problem, but it still didn't fix it. It still didn't correct it. So if anybody has any ideas or suggestions of what I can do to correct the problem, then please let me know. So the first thing I did was, I got the data set. The data set's taken from this site right here. And I imported the libraries that I thought I was going to need: Pandas, NumPy, Matplotlib, PyPlot, and Seaborn. I read the data in. The data was really hard to read in, and it wouldn't read in at first, and I got an error. So you have to put a code in there called encoding ISO 8859-1. You have to put that in there just to get the data set to read. If you don't put it in there, the data set won't read. That might have something to do with why the data set is such poor quality, because it wasn't encoded very well. So you can see the data set here, everything in it. The column names were of a poor quality as well, so I had to rename one of the column names. I had to rename libvotes. So we look at the data set info. You can see here the convotes and the conshare was okay. They were floats. But the libvotes was an object. The lab votes was an object. Other votes was an object. Total votes was an object. So basically, I tried everything that I need to do to convert those columns to numeric, and it just wouldn't work. It just didn't work. But we'll go ahead and go through anyway. So now what we've done is we wanted to see what it is. We did a code dataset convert D types in for objects false D types. So it tells you what the data type was. So libvotes was a string, labvotes was a string, total votes was a string. So, I mean, what was the person who made this data set thinking when they took numeric values and turned it into a string? You just have to ask yourself. So here what we did, we had libshare. We converted that to numeric. and you can see here that it says it's numeric. We did data sets that had certain rows in the data sets that didn't have the correct values in it, and it wouldn't work. So what we had to do was we had to take that particular row, and then make it NP-NaN. Otherwise, it just wouldn't do anything. The actual value was actually value. So we tried to convert lib votes to numeric, and you can see here that it converted it to numeric. The only thing that I can think to do is try to rename the columns and then convert them to numeric that way. I'm not sure. We tried to convert lib shares to numeric, and you can see right here that it converted it to numeric. We tried to convert lab votes to numeric, and you can see that it converted it to numeric. We had other shares. It had a bunch of non-values in it, and so the only way that we could get other shares to work was to do NP-NaN. So we had other share, we converted that to numeric. We had total votes. Those had a lot of faulty values in them as well. And so we had to take all of those faulty values and convert it to NP-NaN, otherwise it wouldn't work. We converted total votes to numeric, and you can see that it was converted to numeric. And then when we do a data set info, all of these columns that supposedly we had converted to numeric, they're not in numeric any longer. So I don't know. The only thing that I can think to do is to create another column. That's the only thing I can think to do. Maybe I'll try that. Okay, so then we dropped the constituency ID, and then I made a value called winner. So winner is the maximum value of con share, lib share, lab share, nat SW share, and that was the maximum value, and that was called the winner. So we're going to be using the winner a lot. The winner had 591 null values. So, and then what we did was we checked the null values on the total CSV file, and you can see most columns had a null value. I mean, how come the UK government put out a CSV file like this? So what we did was with the winner, all of the null values, we just filled that with other. And then with the rest of the data set, all of the null values, we just filled that with mode. And then so we have no more null values. So then we had to map a dictionary for winner. So con share equals 1, lib share equals 2, lab share equals 3, nat SW share equals 4, and other equals 5. And we mapped that on winner. So now winner is numeric. So we printed off a list of columns that were object, and you can see all of these columns that I tried to make numeric. It didn't last. They're still objects. So we tried to convert lib votes to an int. You can see it converted it to an int. We had to take lab votes, and we had to convert one of their rows to a null value. So we converted lab votes to a float. We converted other share to float. We converted total votes to int. And then so in order to get total votes, and then what we did was the election was also a string. So dataset election equals dataset election string 4. And so we made that an int. And again, you can see we've done this again. We've checked it again. And all of these columns that I'm trying to make numeric are just not lasting. They're just not being made numeric. There's something wrong with this data set. It's a pathetic data set. Now what we've done is we've done some pre-processing. So we ordinal encoded all of our categorical columns. Now we're doing a graphic analysis. So we wanted to do a graphical analysis on the winners, and you can see like 1 and 3. So 1 is the Conservatives and 3 is Labor. They got the most votes, and the Liberals and the Nationals and the others got the least votes. So the main contenders were Conservative and Labor. So we put it on a counter so you can see how many votes every category got. And then I made some charts. So if you like reading charts, you can look at the charts and see how each column relates to the target. Put it on a heat map. You can see how the independent variables relate to each other. So we defined our X and Y. So Y is the winner and X is the data set because we've already dropped the ID earlier on. So again, we check X info, and again, all of these columns that we had tried to convert to numeric, they're not numeric, they're objects. They've done something to this CSV file, so we can't manipulate it. I think it has to do with an error in reading it. I think that's what the problem is. It's an error in reading it. So we checked for null values. We had one null value in lab votes. So we had to replace all the values with the most commonly, all the null values, the one null value with the most commonly used values. Again, we checked for null values and we had 0. And now what we're doing is we're doing PCA. We're putting this on PCA so we can do an analysis of the examples. That's principal component analysis. We checked our mean values. We checked our feature columns. We had 18 feature columns. So you see our normalized values here. So all of the values were normalized. So we go into PCA, we import PCA, and we make in components equals 2. So you can see your principal component 1 and principal component 2. So what we've done now is we've gone through and we've done another map. And so, because I wanted the chart that I'm going to be making to have the numbers, have the letters instead of the numbers, so it'll be easier to read. So I made another map of 1 is con share, 2 is lib share, 3 is lab share, 4 is net SW share, and 5 is other. And now we made our chart. So principal component analysis of UK elections data set. So you can see what the chart looks like. You can see the red is Conservative share, the green is the Liberal share, the blue is the Labor share, The gray is the National Southwest Chair, and yellow is other. So you can see how that appears in the computer. And so what I did was I went through and I made n components equals 18. So when you make n components equals 18, that sort of like negates everything. I tried to do an inverse and I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. But I do know that if you make the n components 18, it's as if it's not working. So now we're going to split our X data set up for training and testing. So we split it up. We're going to use the CatBoost. So we didn't have CatBoost installed in Google Colab. So what we decided to do was to install it, really. And so now we've got CatBoost. So our evaluation metric is accuracy, and our random seed is 1. So if you bear with me, we'll just go down until it. So I didn't say any max IDers or anything like that. I just said accuracy. So that's a good idea, accuracy. So that was 99.99% accurate. So that's a good idea when we set CatBoost up, set it up for an evaluation metric of accuracy, and it'll just do it automatically. And we predicted on the valuation set, and we got a 99.44% accuracy. So that's good. And we made a data frame so you can compare the actual values against the predicted values. And now what I wanted to do was I wanted to analyze here. So I said data set winner equals winner. So I added a column winner to this data set. So now, and then what I wanted to do was I wanted to analyze the year. So I analyzed the year 2019, and you can see. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to take the total votes for each political party. So it worked okay for the Conservatives, but on the Liberals, it didn't work because the Liberals was an object file and I couldn't do anything about it. And the Labor was an object file and I couldn't do anything about it. But it worked okay with National, SW, and it worked okay with other. So that's all I could do. That's as far as I got on this data set, which was a big disappointment. I suppose the only thing that I could do is I could go back and remap the winner and then put it on another chart and see how it works on the other chart. But it was just a big disappointment, you know. But since I worked all day on this data set, I thought that it would be a good idea to go ahead and make a video on it just to show you all the work I've done and give you some ideas, really. So if you like my video, please like, subscribe, and share. If you like the work that I'm doing and you would like to make a donation, I've got my email address to my PayPal account down below. And thank you so much for watching my videos, and I look forward to making new videos for you.